a lot of people have very fond memories of the GTK2 era of Linux. Even to this day, people still talk about GNOME 2 design. Now, a lot of the changes that happened after that are not entirely just related to the change from GTK2 to GTK3, but the older I get, the more that I do start to understand the appeal of that simpler way of computing, that more basic design. And yes, GTK2 is a long-dead project. Pretty much the only thing that was holding on to it was GIMP 2, which has now moved over to GTK3, which also happens to be one of the very few things that is causing GTK3 to hold on, but there are still some file managers, and of course the various desktop environments, which are still relying on GTK3, and I don't know if they're ever going to become GTK4 environments, or what's going to happen is they'll fork GTK3 and then just keep doing their own thing, and then there'll be some sort of new toolkit that spawns out of that. Right now, though, GTK4 is the main focus of the core GTK project of GNOME and of the majority of the people using it. But the power of open source means that if somebody wants to go and fork something, they can absolutely do. If the code is there, they have the power to do it. And that is exactly what is being done by the Devuan project with GTK2 NG. Unofficial, community-maintained fork of historical GTK2, not affiliated with GTK or GNOME. I have to assume the NG is for not GNOME. This was also discussed on the Devuan forums by its creator, Damon Rat. GTK2 NG, a community-maintained GTK Plus 2.24 fork. GTK2 NG aims to improve modern build compatibility and long-term maintainability while preserving ABI compatibility, performance, stability, and the original GTK2 behavior as much as possible. The project is X11 first and does not force a migration to Wayland. When we are talking about projects like Devuan, a lot of the people here are obviously very anti-systemd. That's kind of the whole point of Devuan existing, but also anti-Wayland as well, so this pretty much should be expected. As I was checking this out for this take, I noticed that none of this is what I have written in my notes. Turns out he edited the entire post yesterday. Not entirely sure why that was done. Maybe just to bring together a bunch of sort of disconnected information. So, as for the current highlights, as I mentioned, it's trying to still be GTK2, and existing applications should continue to work, and no forced X11 migration. Modern build system cleanup for current autoconf, automake, libtool, and GTK doc. Compatibility fixes for current GCC and Clang versions. Selected safe patches for AUR, BSDs, Gen 2, Fedora, and GTK2 maintenance forks. This is a large part of where the improvements are coming from. So there are a number of these forks like Stefan 1111 1111 5 ones. Stefan with 5 ones, 11,111. Yeah, that. There are various other forks like that, and there's sort of a bunch of weird independent patches. This brings most of those together. Internal year 2038 related time handling improvements where ABI is safe, modernized private data handling in many GTK/GDK classes, fixed compiler and deprecation warnings without removing features, improved GTK file chooser with optional icon view. This is actually a new feature. Classic list view remains available. That's just saying you didn't remove something. Okay. Better icon handling, and reduced unnecessary overhead in the file chooser. So this is optimization improvements, preserved GTK2 theming, theme engines, input modules, and print backends. Again, you have not changed something. Preserved legacy configuration and module lookup behavior. Again, a feature where you did nothing. Continued focus on performance, low overhead, and responsiveness. As for the future, the roadmap. Continue replacing deprecated internal API usage where safe. Improve file chooser responsiveness for large and network directories. Add better effort thumbnail generation and optional preview support. Improve compatibility with traditional GTK2 themes and engines. add XDG-aware config, theme, and icon lookup paths while keeping legacy paths, review Ardour's YTK GTK2 fork for portable ABI-safe improvements. This is one of those forks. Review further GTK2 maintenance forks for useful fixes. There's a bunch of random little ones out there. Preserve cup/PPD printing workflows, and add libppd support for newer cups versions. Improve the Win32 background with the long-term goal of feature parity with X11 backend for ReactOS. That, I think, is actually kind of neat. Windows support has just never really been the focus of GTK. Yes, they have Windows support, but it's always been sort of an afterthought, right? If you wanted to use a cross-platform toolkit, you likely went over to Qt instead. Keep GTK2 useful on modern systems without breaking existing apps, and choose a better long-term project name. It's much less obvious with the way they've structured it here, but a lot of the changes being done are either merging existing work that has been done or very minor compiler warnings, things like that. There are obviously real improvements being made, but I don't think this is necessarily a blight against the project. This is trying to be GTK2 if GTK2 was never abandoned and still works perfectly fine on modern systems and will still work fine going long into the future. This tends to happen quite often with these forks of really large projects. I don't really want to call it a protest fork because it's not really a protest, right? Like, GTK2 is abandoned. It's been abandoned for many years at this point. It's a revival project. If it was doing something like a GTK4 fork because they didn't like a change, yeah, I'd call it a protest there. At the same time, though, it still has a lot of that same sort of issue structure where I don't know if this is going to exist long term or if it's just going to be a thing that exists for like, you know, a couple of weeks and then the developer just moves on to something else. The important question is whether or not this is actually going to get any steam and really go anywhere. As you might expect, most of the thread is about the name. Why is it about the name? Because the name is a very easy thing for people to get involved in and doesn't require any programming knowledge whatsoever. So there's been a ton of random suggestions. I don't know if any of them are going to be used, but I also don't really think the name is that important of a discussion. What's important is, even if this is done, right? What's the goal here? Why bother reviving GTK2? Most things have moved off of GTK2 at this point. There's a few leftover things, but most things are just simply abandoned. We do get a bit of insight into what could possibly be done here. If we went the TDE way, TDE is a desktop environment that forked off another one and just created a GNOME 2 fork. What do you guys think about calling it GNOMium? Just like there's Chromium for Chrome. Chrome and Chromium, there's like a element play there, that makes sense, but sure, I guess GNOMium is certainly a name you could go with. I really like it that TD kept most of the names like Conqueror, Amarok, etc., and just rebranded what had to be rebranded. For applications and core components prefixed with GNOME, such as GNOME Terminal, Panel, Menus, so on and so forth, that would be GNOMium because they'd be GNOMium Panel, GNOMium Menus, so on and so forth. And Eye of GNOME would become Eye of GNOMium. All the other applications, we could either keep their name if they don't exist anymore today, like Metacity, GNOME Menu, Galleon, etc. Did they used to have kind of like a G naming, like the K naming with KDE? Actually, maybe they did. I don't know. Maybe there's just like a one-off thing. While the others being used today would be called Nautilus GNOMium, Gedit GNOMium, so on and so forth, just like there's Conqueror Trinity and Amarok Trinity. What do you think? TD did the same and nobody ever sued them, so we should be fine too. Sure, let's go with that logic. Nobody sued them, so surely there's no problem then. In response to that, we got this comment from Sysfornon. I personally think that focusing on one flagship DE gives us the highest chance of success long term. Obviously, if we need to fill functional gaps with stuff from another DE, that's one thing, but focusing on one solid DE and surrounding app ecosystem, I think is a winning strategy that is time-tested via TDE and Mate, with the former being a better equivalent of what to do. We refine it very, very well and make it impossible to ignore. Both TDE and Mate are pretty easy to ignore, so I guess you can try. I guess you can certainly try. Now, I was going to say at this point nothing had been done, but that seems to have changed. We have all of these: GIMP Classic, GDM Classic, GNOME Menu, GNOMEum, GNOMEum Tweak, GNOMEum Bluetooth. All of these projects, all of these forks have now been made. However, keep in mind, it is incredibly easy to make a fork. It is incredibly easy to click that button, to run that command, and then you have one. It's a whole nother question to actually go and truly fork the project, make changes, because right now it's basically like one, maybe two people involved. So far, I don't think any changes have been done. Granted, this was done about 10 hours ago, so we will see if anything serious is done, right? Like, I could expect a name change, a few random patches being made, bringing in things from some of the other GTK2, GNOME 2 forks. But we'll have to wait and see if anything serious is done here. Devuan as a whole is a really weird project. It's obviously very anti-systemd, and a lot of people are very anti-Wayland. It's not entirely anti-Wayland though, right? Like, there are Wayland people that still like Devuan, but don't like the systemd stuff. It's a neat little look into this part of the Linux world that most of us probably never even consider existing. I'm personally happy with, projects like Arch Linux. People are happy with projects like Debian or Ubuntu or Fedora. But I'm not going to fault someone for seriously going and forging their own path. But what do you think? Do you still care about GTK2? Do you run Devuan? Are you one of these anti-systemd people? I would love to know. So, let me know your thoughts down below. Would you run a Devuan created desktop environment? And, if you liked the video, go like the video, go subscribe as well. And if you really liked the video and you want to become one of these amazing people over here, check out the Patreon subscribes Daily Bearer Pay, linked in the description down below. That's going to be it for me, and no modern GTK. Bad.